Hi everyone, so today we're going to be looking at a new lesson, which is lesson 7. The kind of the lessons were all mixed up, so this is like lesson 6, 7 together. So this is looking at graphing linear relations. So one thing that we always need to recall is our equation of the line, which is y equals mx plus b. And remember, our m is our rate of change, which is always our slope, and our b is always and forever will be our initial value. So make sure you do understand that. That is so important to remember. Highlight this, make sure you understand it, because you will be using this quite a bit in this whole lesson, and honestly when you go into grade 10. So for the first example here, please make sure you have a ruler out. I do not have a ruler with my iPad, but you need a ruler to make sure your lines are nice and straight. That's going to be so important when you are writing your assessments. So make sure your lines are always nice and straight. You will be deducted marks if it is not nice and straight. So for example, we're going to graph the line of this equation here. So y equals 2 over 3x plus 1. So the first thing is to always plot the initial value. So in this case, our initial value is 1, because that is what b is. Remember to always take a look at what the symbol is in front. Is it positive or negative? In this case it is positive, so that means it is 1, and the point corresponds with 0 and 1. So based off this graph, we need to look for where 0 and 1 is and plot our point. Okay, so please make sure you plot that now if you have not done so already, as I fill in our graph, just so we are ready to go. Next step is to use the x and y to plot another point. So in this case, we have our m, which is in our section here, which was 2 over 3. So remember, because it's a fraction, we are going to be going up by 2 units and to the right by 3, because they are both positive. If it was negative, we'd be going down and left. So we're going to go up 2 and to the right by 3. So up 2 to the right 3 and plot our points. We're going to do this in reverse. So we're going to go down 2 and to the left 3, and we're going to plot our points. Once we're done plotting, we will draw our lines to connect the two. Make sure you use your ruler. My line will not be straight. Draw your arrows, and there you go. That is how we graph the line. So make sure that you are using your ruler, graphing the points, making sure you're using your initial value and your x and b, your m and your y values to graph, and making sure you know how many units you have to go up and to the right or down and left by in order to make sure you get your m. Next, we're going to do example 2, so graphing the line. We have y equals negative 3x. We are missing our b. We don't know what this b option is, so therefore, because we don't know, it's not listed, our b is going to be 0. So therefore, what we're going to start in at is smack dab in the middle, 0 and 0. That is what our b is starting at. From there, our slope, it says it is 3, but it's a negative 3. So that means we are going to be referencing as we're going to go down by 3 and to the right by 1. Because if this is a fraction, it's negative 3 over 1. So we're going to go down by 3 and to the right by 1, because the negative wasn't on the bottom. Okay, so that's why we go to the right instead of not to the left. Okay, so the bottom number was not a negative, so therefore that is how this works. So we're going to go down by 3 and to the right by 1. Opposite of that, we're going to go up by 3 to the left 1. And we're going to graph our line. Make sure it's a straight line. Mine was not there. Make sure you plot your y, your x, your values, because I did not do that. Make sure you're always putting your values on your graph. Okay, so this kind of gives you a little bit of an idea of how to graph. Now let's look at an example of using slope and a point to find another point in the relation. So here we're going to determine 2 or more ordered pairs for each of the following relations. So it says the rise is 3, the run is 4, okay? And we have it says 1 and 5 lies on the line. So 1 is x, our 5 is our y. So based off of this, our steps that we're going to take are right in this box here. So we're going to first off plot your y-intercept, which is your b value. Okay, so in this situation, we're going to plot our b value, which we don't fully know all of it, but what we do know is a few things. We know that 1 and 5 lies on the line somewhere. So we're going to plot that, okay? So we're going to go 1 and 5. You can do however you want to do this, but make sure you go up by a certain number. So 1 and 5 is right there for us. So make sure you plot that. And then from there, we're going to be doing our rise is 3 and run by 3. Because remember, we're doing our slope. So rise over run is equal to 3 over 4. Okay, so doing that, we're going to be going up by 3 and run by 4. So from that point, up by 3 and then run by 4. 1, 2, 3. And then make sure that you do the opposite to go down as well. So based off of this information, looking at those 2 plots where we just went up and by when we did our slope, we can determine that this point here is going to be 5 and 8, and this point over here was negative 3 and 2 because of what we just counted. Okay, so we can see that it's negative 3 and 2 based off of where we put it. Make sure you draw your lines to connect. Don't forget that, because we need to connect with a straight line. And then don't forget to label your equation and your axes. So y, x, don't forget to label. I'm not going to label fully, but you need to make sure you label. Even your negatives, don't forget to label your negatives, okay? So based off of that, we can determine that that is how we are able to find our slope and point based off of those 2 values. So now we're going to try B. So I want you to pause, try it out on your own, and solve it yourself. Okay, so once you're done, that should be pretty simple. It's very similar to what we did in A. We're going to look at what a horizontal and vertical line are. So a horizontal line, as you can see there, there's 2 important things. We have our y-axis and our x-axis. A horizontal line is parallel to your x-axis. So based off of this, our slope is always going to be 0 because of where our y-axis is. The values based off of this, our y values, is going to be y equals 2 in this example because we are at 2 in this section. Okay, so that is where our point is going to be. So therefore, if we were to look at this as a point, it'd be x and 2. So this is what a horizontal looks like. A vertical line is literally just parallel now to the y-axis. And when we look at the slope, it is known as undefined. Okay, so this is very important to remember. So based off of this, our x values is going to be equal to -2. Don't forget that because of the negative where this is at. And it's going through the x values. So therefore, if we were to put this as a point, it'd be -2 and y. Because we don't know our y, but we do know our x in this case. Our special equation for each of them for our horizontal line would be y equals b. And for our special equation for our vertical line would be x equals a. Okay, so now we're going to do the next example, and we're going to graph the following lines. So we have our y equals -2 and then x equals 4. I want you to take time now and to try to graph out these following lines. Don't forget to label, that's very, very important. and then try it out. Try to use 2 different colors if you want, just so it's organized better and you are aware of what line you are looking at, so you just know, okay? So pause now, try it out, take your time. All right, so based off of this, and based off of the 2 equations and comparing it to above, if we were asked about B and what the slope is, the slope would be undefined, okay? And if we were to look at the slope of Y, it would be 0, okay? So do take a look at that. Please make sure you understand both of these, what vertical, what horizontal is, and how to graph. If you have any questions, let me know.